and welcome to our April series of our webinars. I'm Lauren Marlborough. I am from Equine Therapies, and I am so excited to introduce you as well as my co-host today on the topic of equine iridology. This is something super new to the horse industry, and it's really my pleasure to welcome the one and only, oh, she just left for a second. Here she is. This is Lisa Wesson. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, Lauren. Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. You have a good day?
I did. It was busy.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of year, isn't it?
It is. Yep. Everybody's getting back into showing and getting ready for shows and competitions. So it is getting busy.
We're going to get run off our feet this year. I know it.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm going to give everyone a little introduction about you because maybe not too many people are familiar with you. And I know we have quite a few viewers that are coming or watching from overseas. I had quite a few interested from like over in Europe. So that's pretty exciting. You're gonna reach out. You're gonna reach out to quite a few people today. So this is Lisa Wesson. She has owned horses and dogs for over 25 years and has been practicing natural therapies on animals for more than 8 years. She uses a combination of holistic and integrative therapies and a natural diet to improve and manage many types of ailments and conditions with pets and animals. She often includes homeopathy, herbal remedies, and essential oils in her assessments. She also uses kinesiology testing as part of her animal communication skills. And you can see there she has an abundance of wonderful influences and some that I'm actually quite familiar with as well. So welcome again, Lisa. This is so awesome to be able to have you and learn about this new modality. And I know we were just talking how you had this is your second career essentially. So this is something you've wrapped up in last 5 years, did you tell me?
Last 5 or 6 years, yes.
Wow. And what got you into doing some equine therapies?
Oh my goodness. I think I had a horse and he passed away. So sometimes when they pass away, it just leads you into doing different things. When my dog passed away, it got me into doing things as well. So I think that's how I was purposely led to do these different therapies. And I took a bit of a hiatus from my real job back when I was working for the 34 years. And I did sell advertising for Equine Wellness magazine, which was a natural magazine for horses, obviously. So from there, I had so much input from a lot of American and Canadian companies. And that's where I've met most of these places that I've gone for my education. Wow. A lot of the education that I took was not from Canada. It was from the States and overseas. And either the UK or the Netherlands.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that when you want to become sort of equine therapist, body worker, and you want to expand on that, it's really hard to find anywhere in Canada that offers any kind of, interesting modality or something that's new. We really have to outsource outside of Canada to find these things.
Very much so. And it's important to be different. I mean, it's great that we have lots of massage therapists, and there's getting to be more osteopathy done because I love the craniosacral therapy and osteopathy. That's kind of my other side. But there was just still something missing that I felt. And I've actually watched a webinar during the pandemic, because what else were we going to do? We're all locked in our home. And Wendy Murdoch had some really good webinars over the last couple of years, and she still continues to have them. And I saw this lady with the Iridology she's from the UK, or I think she was from the States, but learned from the UK from Ellen Collinson. And when I saw that, I thought, that there's always been something missing in my, in just when I'm working with horses, and I can do the animal communication and figure things out that way, but there is still something missing. So that has filled the void. It's been amazing.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Wesson Natural Therapies, just to everyone familiarize themselves with what you offer and just the company as a whole.
Well, I do animal acupressure. I took the Tallgrass animal acupressure course, the basic course on dogs, and of course with horses. And I really like to excel in that. Of course, it's when you're working with horses, I'm doing a bit of everything. So I include the acupressure. If I have extreme cases, then I'll use moxie sticks or moxibustion on the acupoints. But I also love the pain and release points that I originally learned, which are kind of osteopathic type techniques. Love those, getting your horses balanced and getting them, a foot in every four corners of the horse type of thing. And of course, compensation patterns, etc. Compensation versus posture and that type of thing. But then then I got into K-taping because why not? I mean, every body worker should have that as part of your regime for sure. Then I always wanted to do cranial sacral, and it was not available unless I flew to California or went to Holland and learned it. And I was working at the time, and of course didn't have the time and the funds to do that. So Dr. Angelique came up with her course, and I was literally the second person, I think, because I'm like, I need to do this for horses. It was just something that had to be there. So that started, I think it was certified in that. Maybe it's been 5 years, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, I just love the cranial. But then again, you've always felt something was missing. So the iridology came on, and it took about 8 months to a year, depending on the time that you have. You can take up to 2 years to take that course, but it was a good 8 months and just brilliant knowledge. And the slides that we go through will have, the history of iridology and Ellen's information and the course information, etc. It is invaluable.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for this evening, and I'm sure there's quite a few out there that are amping up to hear all about this. And my introduction to Lisa was at one of her workshops a couple of winters ago. I was lucky enough to bring my mare, and you got to tell us how to do some like pain relieving techniques right there and then. And it was just a fascinating thing, even for me as a massage therapist, to be able to see these techniques that you've been learning and kind of show it on my mare and see the results. And of course, she's used to body work, so she's very receptive towards it all. But yeah, I highly recommend, if anyone is interested in your workshops, to definitely attend, because you will learn a lot and be able to help a number of your horses in your barn, if not just your own. So yeah.
Yes, thank you. I love doing workshops, and I have the pain release points workshop. It's called Equine Essentials. I do also a basic introduction to acupressure as well, just so for layman's to use. And I'm just introducing now a manual lymph drainage introductory course for layman's, because I can't be everywhere for manual lymph drainage. And if people can just do a little bit just to help their horses, then I like to empower people to help to do their own horses. And I'm also making up a craniosacral therapy intro course, just again, not a certification, just for people to be aware, covering maybe dental. I'm taking a more advanced course right now through Maureen Rogers from the Netherlands. She's an amazing craniosacral therapist. Of course, they're very strong in the Netherlands with craniosacral. And it's strictly on the TMJ function and teeth. Wow. And it's amazing. Holy cow. So I said, I have to make a course out of this. I just have
to. Well, count me in. I'd love to check it out and attend. Count me in. Well, why don't we get right into the whole presentation component? I know there's quite a few people waiting. So first and foremost, what is iridology?
So iridology is the science of the study of the iris of the eye. The iris is the colored part of the eye. It's commonly practiced in Europe, so it has been used quite frequently in Europe. It's a painless, simple, non-invasive alternative medicine technique examining the patterns and color markings and other characteristics of the iris to determine information about the horse's systemic health. Basically, it's what is happening inside the body. These different characteristics of the iris show where and which organs or body parts are under stress long before they become diseased, or where there is an inherited weakness, any muscle spasms, temperament, behavior problems, and other influences. The markings and coloration change in the iris as the condition of the body tissues change. The iris and the eye change in form with any changes in the body chemistry.
Interesting. So it's really just focusing on various components of the eye. And
yes,
going around to see horses, they all have different things going on in the eye. So those things are essentially going to give you information about what's going on internally with the horse?
Yes, very much so. And if you think about when you see pictures of fetuses, whether it's people or animals or horses, when you see the fetus at the very beginning, it's a big dark blob, and then the body is kind of forms from that blob and starts to curve around it. That blob is the eye.
Really?
So every major function, every major organ is attached to the a nerve ending in the eye.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's where that kind of the connection really starts then.
Mm-hmm.
Way back in the womb there. Okay, interesting.
Way back. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
There's some...
So the iridologists, we use an iris map with organs represented in specific areas of the eye that corresponds with the hours of a clock. So liver is at 7 o'clock. So if you think of 6 o'clock as the bottom, and at 7 o'clock to the left, there's a bit of a mark, that would be your liver.
Okay.
For example.
Various direction or various hours on the clock, per se.
Yes.
Give you different body organs that they're associated with. Is that correct?
Yes. And if you put back to our live, I can show you my eye map. Oh, where are you? So this is the eye map. So I have left eye, right eye. There's the head is in the top. Thyroid, lungs is always at the outside edge of the eye. There's heart. There's all the major organs are along the bottom, along here. Liver, spleen, kidneys, central nervous system is bubbles. So every area and every marking in this specific part of the clock is representative of that specific organ or body part. So pelvis is in there. There's withers in there. I can see if the pelvis is coming under stress. So there's just different. There's so much, just so involved.
I'm sure it's not as simple. I'm sure it's quite complex. But
so I sit with my little map in front of me, with my picture in front of me on my computer enlarged, and I use my pen to say, oh, that's 6 o'clock and that's 9 o'clock. Oh my goodness. So yeah. You need a beer when you do this because it's just like a lot of wine or something.
I don't know if that's going to be a good thing by the end of the bottle or a bad thing. So tell us a little bit of history, because where did it really kind of originate from and when? Because to us, it's very new and something, you know.
I know, it's fascinating because iridology was used in the ancient Egyptians. This is on people. The classic Greeks and throughout Europe since the 19th century. Iris mapping was advanced in the late 1800s on people. But in the First World War, and that's what I found is fascinating. So during the First World War, this Dr. Stevenson, he's a veterinary surgeon, and his young assistant is a Sid Mercer. He's kind of a famous guy back then. They worked together in the remount section. So they were in the cavalry unit in the First World War. And they took particular note of the markings in the eyes of the injured and or diseased and dying horses because they were in the cavalry unit. So they would do autopsies, of course, and then take pictures of the eyes to see how they related with the diseased or whatever that they knew was happening with the horse. So that's really later in life, the Sid Mercer became known as the Magic Man because he had a reputation helping several race horses win major endorsed races. So really, he and this Dr. Stevenson were the first people to start, quote unquote, mapping the iridology, the eye of the horse, even back as far as the First World War. So this Sid Mercer is the one who kind of kept this whole information, of course, after the Second World War. And then he would get these race horses and he would study these horses' eyes. And apparently he'd just buy these horses from a sale for inexpensively, because he'd look in the eye and he thought, no, all I need to do is prescribe a certain herb for the kidneys, for example. And they made them his own herbal supplements. And these horses were winning races. Like, it was a crazy. He won the Arc de Triomphe. Like, there's all these big races that he won. And a lot of these analogies in the book, the actual book and the information with this course is all related to the racetrack because it's so huge in the UK and Ireland. So Ellen Collinson, who is, and her name is down twice, but I didn't do that on purpose, but Ellen Collinson, she followed and continued these iridology studies in the UK. She's from Ireland, I believe. And she's the most famous and most knowledgeable equine iridologist in the world because she kind of originally came from this Sid Mercer's information from the First World War. I don't know how old Ellen is. She has retired. She's still alive. She retired and she sold a section of her business, this course, to my instructor, who is from the Netherlands, who was one of her students. So it's all related. And she goes back to this Joey, her name is Joey Phillips, and she does refer back to Ellen if there's any questions that we have. We have a really awesome Facebook group of all the students, both past and present students. So if we have any issues and we're not sure, because there's just so much, oh my gosh, I mean, we learn this, but there's so many things that come up and there's so many things that can go happen with horses, as we know. Right. So she does refer to Ellen for any information. If she doesn't know, she asks Ellen, and she's still very much a part of her business. But I'll tell you, it's probably the most accurate iridology course you can take, academy you can take.
Very good. Interesting. So
in that slide was, so Ellen has her own, and she's a herbalist because this is all about herbs too, because you can't, just like anything, I'll never forget one time when I had my horse, I had somebody come out and said, well, your horse has this, this, and this as far as physically. And they paid my $80 or whatever, and they walked away. And I'm like, well, what the heck? How do I fix it? And that, to me, I will never do that. To me, if there's something wrong with your horse, I'm going to tell you how, or explain how you can fix it. Or if I can't fix it, find somebody else who can. I mean, this is what I like about this. So with the iridology, herbalism is, of course, the herbivores. This is what they're designed to eat, is herbs and plants, and that's what it's all about. So that it really resonated with my whole mandate of natural anyway. So she does have her own really cool ingredients of these special herb mixtures in the UK. So yeah.
Well, we can't get them, right? So eventually
we have you.
Keep me busy.
You're really busy there, sister.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if anyone's really interested in learning more, there's those 2 websites down on the screen there. So they can just kind of go into it and learn about the history and the information on the course there. Yeah, the course is the very bottom one, Equine Iridology course itself. And then equineiridology.eu is Ellen's actual website. Okay. And it's got some really good information on herbs and herb information. And then she branches off into, and she even has another website of herbs too. But yeah, it'll pretty well connect you to that. Okay. But yeah, they've got a really interesting way of feeding their base is a soaked oat, which is very British, because of course raw oats I would very seldom feed because it can cause all kinds of issues and make them hot, etc. So soaking the grains is hugely popular in Europe, and it changes the area that it's digested in the gut, so they don't become hot, and the nutrients are incredible compared to just a raw grain. So she's got all that written in there. It's fascinating. Awesome. I'll have to head over there, and someone's asked me to post the links into the event page, so I'll be sure to do that right after. Perfect. Thank you. Session. That's awesome. So iridology is not a diagnostic tool, as it cannot determine specific diseases, but it does give us insight into what we can do to strengthen areas and systems in the horse's body to live a healthier life. This science is used as a nutritional guide that can assist all animals towards a higher level of health. So what can equine iridology detect? The eye can show imbalances way before physical symptoms appear. So it can show internal organs, body tissue imbalances. Injuries and trauma, I can see past, we can see present. It's been a long day. So the present will be a bit of a darker mark.
Inherited weaknesses. So inherited, meaning it's inherited from the dam or the sire. You can inherit a few things. You can inherit an inherited kidney weakness, which we're going to cover. We're going to cover behavioral and physical traits that are mostly inherited, and you can tell if they are by the eye, by the certain markings in certain areas in the eye. It can also dictate where issues may be developing. So when I do an iridology assessment, I always tell people, I always phone them first, because if I just send them the email, they're going to go, oh my God, my horse is going to die. Because, there might be every single bloody organ is affected or coming under pressure. So there's different words that we use. It's not like it's, oh my gosh, they have a blockage, but it's coming under pressure, or it's showing some stress, or it's showing that it's got weakness, which just means that it's may not be an issue now that you can physically see, but it's going to become an issue if you don't look after it. So that's why this is nice, because it can help you with pre-purchase exams, because you kind of know what might be an issue. It's digestion. Oh my gosh, digestion is huge. 99.999% of the digestion issues, all my horses, the first thing is digestion. Every one of them. We have toxicity. I can see ulcers. I can see parasites. I can see if it's acidic. I can see if they have leaky gut syndrome, diverticulitis. I mean, there's just so much I can see from the eye. I can see if their teeth need floating. It'll show up in the jaw. Or if they've had them floated, maybe there's something else going on, or maybe there's an extra hook, something going on. Mineral imbalances. We can tell if there's calcium imbalances and mineral imbalances. I can see, and if they're anemic, anemia ring. High levels of inflammation and stress. We can see that, like I said, great tool for pre-purchase exams as well. Because if that horse has had an injury in their head, I can see it right away.
It's a lot to take in, but I'm going back to thinking about like the 7 o'clock being the liver, and how much there can be going on in the liver that would give you information to relay on to the horse owner, and how beneficial it'll be, because then they can kind of use your information and provide the herbal remedy that they need to be able to resolve the issue, and then kind of figure out if there's anything else going on, because sometimes the liver and the digestion system, obviously they can be hand in hand, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
So just another great tool to have, someone like Lisa come out and look at your horse's eye.
Yeah. So what iridology cannot detect, it can't diagnose specific diseases. Obviously, only a vet can legally diagnose an animal. Iridology may reveal an issue in a particular area of the body, for instance, an issue with the liver, but not specifically what the problem is. So if there's a mark in the liver, that bit just may mean that there's just simply a malfunction of the liver. There might actually be a blockage in the tube, it's just a weakness, or pardon me. So it's not like exactly, oh my gosh, that's going to happen, but it just gives you an idea of, maybe you could look into it, and then you can have blood work if you want to follow up with your vet and see how the liver enzymes are. Also, you cannot detect something that has been undertaken under anesthetic, for example, castration. So people say, can you see the gelding scars? Well, no, because that was taken under, and see, when they're under anesthetic, the central nervous system is shut down. And when we get into the central nervous system, because we're going to cover that, there's certain bubbles that show if there's been damage to the central nervous system. And apparently when horses are either A, under anesthetic, or B, when they've passed on, those central nervous system bubbles go back to the normal shape that they're supposed to be in, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
So now, what this is leading me to is I want to go to when they do a body.
Yeah, right.
I want to check out the eye, take a picture, and then do the autopsy.
Yeah.
It just never ends.
University of Guelph used to do those. I don't know if they do them so much now, but
they do. I just got a contact of a lady who there's a group that does do this. So I'm just I love dissections. So now it fascinates me even more to see if the eye would relate to the part that they're looking at, or
especially if it has to do with anything that caused the death of the animal, right?
And to take a picture of the eye before they're put down and then after would be phenomenal.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
We'll see if I can get a connection. If anybody's out there, connect me. I'll be in there like a dirty shirt for sure. So just go back one slide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finish up that. So you can identify the cause of an injury, because we don't know, I mean, whatever. Detect bacterial, fungal infections, tumors, leukemia, detect rare genetic conditions, or detect kidney stones. It just might show that the kidneys are not malfunctioning, but we don't know how. So again, that's where ultrasound, you'd have to follow up with the vet. You can't tell if an animal's pregnant because that's natural. They're meant to be pregnant. You can't tell the life expectancy of an animal as well.
Great.
Yeah.
And I've just added this slide in here so that, people can become familiar, because if you're going to use any of the anatomical names, they might want to know kind of where they are, or I know you're going to use like your clock analysis, but I just thought I'd throw this one in here because there's a lot of parts of the eye, obviously, and it's
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So really what we deal with is just mainly the pupil. Of course, we look at the pupil and the dilation of the pupil. When I take the pictures, I use a flash, so the pupil would quickly get smaller, would constrict. But I've actually had 2 horses where I take the picture and their pupil does not constrict at all. Mm-hmm. It actually is still dilated. That's an automatic sign of adrenal. That's your adrenal stress. And adrenal stress is really important. If your horse is under adrenal stress, you don't want those adrenals to actually shut down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we look for with the pupil. And then, of course, the iris is where all of these nerve endings go to, and that's where all of our marks basically are in. The sclera, which is in people, it's the white part of our eyes. You don't normally see the white part of horses' eyes unless they're freaked out at something and you see this white. But generally speaking, when I'm seeing these pictures, you just don't see the sclera at all.
Okay.
So there's no real, and then the eyelids, I mean, if they can't open their eye, the eyelash lid or the bottom lid well enough, then that's usually a cranial thing. They've had some sort of an injury. And I can tell from one, because I always look at both eyes, never just one. And whichever eye doesn't open enough, it could be from either an injury or from the pituitary dysfunction as well. And thyroid can make them very, very sleepy-eyed. They just don't want to open their eye. So yeah, there's just different things. But generally speaking, we don't get too much into the actual structure. But this is great information. Thank you for sharing it.
No problem. So what are the main parts of the eye? I know you said like the pupil and the iris. Are those the main areas of the eye that you're concentrating on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the iris is the main. That's your 99% of the time is the iris and all the markings in the iris.
Perfect.
So this is just a couple of examples of eyes. The top eye is we call it a cleaner eye. There's not a lot of dark marks. If you see the marks on the bottom eyes, those are what we call more of a dirty eye. There's much more degenerations of organs. Usually you see that more in older horses, especially if they've been ridden hard and put away wet, which is always a good example. They've just had a hard life and gosh knows what, but usually the younger horses, you see a cleaner eye like the top. There's still some issues going on in that clean eye, but it's just not as exaggerated as the bottom eye. The bottom 2 eyes, it's literally degeneration of the organs. And I see liver, I see kidney. And so they need a lot of support. Sometimes I see this type of eye in a Cushing's horse. They have a lot more exaggerated going on with all their major organs. Usually there's a mark in the head as well, because that's pituitary is in the brain. So when you see a lot going on, and it's funny, I can look at a horse and work on them and think, oh my gosh, this horse let me take pictures of their eye. There's got to be a head injury or some major trauma going on. And I'll get the pictures and it's like, oh, there's nothing. There's just a couple of things there. It's just like a princess or something. But then there's other horses where they're just, they don't show much. You work on them, you do your cranial or whatever, and there's nothing that really stands out. And you look at the picture of the eye and it's like those dirty eyes. And you think, how can this horse function?
Really
Like seriously, just it blows my mind.
interesting.
And because I do a lot of craniosacral and I look at the symmetry of the face, and some of these horses' eyes, look at the symmetry and see which side they pull back to is lower. And if that happened to people, we wouldn't be able to walk.
No.
It just shows you how beautifully intelligent these animals are. And I mean, not intelligent how they think, but their philosophy, their whole, what's the word? The philosophy intelligence, or the natural intelligence and instinct of these animals to survive is just surpasses any compensation that they do, and they hide it really well.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why you look in the eye and go, holy crap. He's hiding a lot of crap, man.
Yeah.
That's why it's so phenomenal. It's just amazing to see what's going on. And then others, it's like, oh, there's just a little bit here, a little bit there. It might be becoming an issue, so just look after it. But others, you go, I think you need to help with that now.
And that's why we have you, Lisa, because you get to show us all this fun and interesting stuff.
Yes, well.
While helping all of our loved horses.
Oh, yes.
This is the central nervous stuff. This is
central nervous system. This is really cool because the central nervous system is like our whole nervous system. Very important. In a normal horse, there's bigger balls. There's a flash in the eye. You can see a mark where the flash is, and there's kind of darker parts. Pardon me. Sorry, I got the hiccups now. Along the top, those should be three or four balls. Sometimes there's only two, but they're generally all the same size. In a horse that hasn't had any head trauma and any issues and no central nervous system damage, those three balls will literally be the same size. But if those balls show damage, it's from usually of trauma. Any head trauma will always make the central nervous system balls irregular. They may be irregular in one eye or both eyes. This can also happen during birth. If they they call it the nerve nip during birth, that can also cause some central nervous system damage. So these three balls can actually be enlarged, and I'll show you some later on. They can be squished together. They can be disconnected. I've seen some pictures I haven't seen any yet that I've come across, but they're literally almost dropped through the eye. And that's like majorly damaged, big time. So some of the signs of central nervous system nerve damage is head shakers. Quite often you'll see that in head shaking. I mean, head shaking isn't just this. Believe me, there's a lot more to it in the cranial aspect. There's a ton more to it, but this also can contribute to it. They can also have extremely high or extremely low head carriage. So it can be either or. Hypertemperament, because this can also create temperament issues, as well as possibly hereditary stuff, which we'll get into. They'll be unwilling to bend and or stiff on one side, because that could be this, and it could be the one side that's damaged, depending. And sometimes some horses with central nervous system damage will have very itchy skin. And it's not an allergy thing, it's a nervous system thing. And their skin will be very itchy.
Interesting.
So how you look after this is, of course, nervine herbs, which through the Ellen Collins and herb, she's a book on herbs, and we took that as part of the course too. So something to settle the central nervous system as far as your nervines, and of course, good old craniosacral therapy. I mean, that's just the be all and end all for everything, if you ask me.
It's one of those add-ons, right?
Oh, when in doubt, just do central nervous craniosacral.
So the three balls you were talking about in the eye, I'm guessing they're about the 1 o'clock area. Is that what you're?
Well, yeah, the 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay, and is it always three balls in the eyes that?
Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's four. It just depends on the horse, but on the average, it's three, and they really should be the symmetrical in both eyes.
Okay, interesting.
But if you have one eye that isn't, that horse, that foal might have been born standing up and dropped on its head on the one side.
Wow.
So that's sometimes a sign too. So there's all these things in the course that tell you that could mean this, or this.
Yeah.
So at least you know it would contribute to the temperament. So this isn't These are really good images. So the picture on the left is, see how there's two huge balls?
Wow.
So when this horse's eye is, when the pupil is constricted, which it would be in bright sunlight, this horse on the left and the right, they will not be able to see. So in bright sunlight, if you think, gee, my horse can't, I don't think he can see, he probably can't. Because it actually blocks. Now it's meant to be a filter in a way too, but when they're abnormally big, like this one on the left and the one on the right is abnormal too, it's going to block the vision when they're in bright sunlight. There's no question. So keep that in mind. If you think your horse is blind, he's probably not able to see.
Yeah, definitely something else to think about.
Yeah. So temperament, this is really cool. Temperament is inherited, folks. So there's a radiocularis, we call it, which are like fingers that come up in the eye. And this horse has some radiocularis in the top part of the eye, which is the head area. These horses are internal warriors. They are thinkers. They are very intelligent and very, very good memories. Some have more so than others. Some have literally like waves, and some just have a few fingers going up. So it just depends. But yeah, this is inherited, and it can also this type of horse with radiocularis, they will tend to overreact to situations. They'll maybe have some temper tantrums because they're just a little hotter headed, and it's temperament. It's part of it. So the next section is nerve rings. So this is something that is also inherited stress, but this inherited stress line only comes out if they've been handled roughly in the past. So yes, it's still part of the inherited. It's inherited. There's no doubt. But if they've been handled roughly, you'll be able to know by those lines. And some horses have deep lines. And it's like, okay, we know they've been treated not so well or roughly handled. And it could have been, I mean, people say, well, I've had them since they were 2. Well, do you know what happened to them before 2 years old?
Yeah.
Maybe they halter broke them and it was a nasty, who knows,
So would you see this more in like off the track thoroughbreds? Because obviously the thoroughbred is definitely a breed that gets a lot of athleticism and characteristics from, inherited and genetic with them. So is that something you would see more in the off the track thoroughbred because of their mannerism?
No, it's every horse. I've seen it in quarter horses. I've seen it in warm bloods. It's every horse. It just depends. And some are just more extreme than others.
Okay.
So it just depends on what their bloodlines were, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no real breed specific that I've seen with any of this stuff so far. Okay. It's just been how well they've been handled, and then some of the hereditary stuff, depending on the dam or the sire. So digestion. I'm covering. I mean, there's obviously lots of organs and lots of stuff to cover, but I thought the most important was the central nervous system is fascinating. But of course, because of 98.9% of my issues that I see right off the bat is digestion. And hello, digestion is 80% of immunity is in the digestion to begin with. So there's a digestive ring, we call it, which is around the black part of the eye on the interior. And we can see toxicity. This horse in particular is a very weak and toxic. It's very dark around that rim, but it's also got a lot of white in that eye, not only around the digestion. This whole digestion is completely acidic, and the body is so acidic. This poor horse is actually a standard bred racehorse. It hasn't been fed properly for a long time. And it's an older one. It's maybe 6 or 7. It's not like a 2-year-old. But and actually it does have parasites. There's some little dots. So we can tell by some marks along within this diagram of the digestion, we can see if there's possible parasites. Sometimes it can mean diverticulitis, but I'm pretty sure this one has parasites, and I have one farther on that you'll see. Another big thing with this horse is it has the white ring around the outside of the eye. See that white ring? That's called an anemia ring. It means, and it's not necessarily doesn't mean anemic in the sense of people when we're anemic. Yes, it's blood is not as rich as it should be, but it also can't. It's not producing and utilizing the nutrients in the food.
Well, and it goes back onto what you said, that the digestive system of this horse is pretty poor. It hasn't been fed properly in a very long time, so it's going to have a bit of a deficiency or imbalance of minerals within its system.
Yeah, they always correlate. So you've got anemia ring always usually correlates with toxic and weak digestions.
Okay. And how did you tell if there was parasites?
There's just little dots that are around the edge of the digestive ring.
Okay.
And this digestive ring is not, it's just kind of butterfly looking, and it shouldn't be, and that's a weakness. But I mean, it's dark. It's just got so much toxicity. And what's the toxicity from? Well, it can be from a few things. It can be from obviously improper food, too much sugar, too much refined grains, too much processed foods, sugars, too rich minerals. They could have maybe just been wormed, or just had vaccinations too, because that's a toxin in the body. Maybe this horse was on Previcox or something.
Yeah.
So whatever it is. And the thing with iridology, and when I do the assessments, is I do get the history of the horse, because it's a puzzle to put together as well. It's not just about, let's look at the eye. We have to really put the puzzle together with looking at the whole horse.
Yeah.
So this is another example of of toxic digestion and acidity. There's lots of acidity in this digestion and in the whole body of the horse. That white ring, kind of underneath the that dark digestive ring that's around the pupil. There's a white line that's kind of along there. That's just acidity in the digestion. It's brutal. Now this one, you can see little light fiber fingers going down into the bottom of the eye, and from the digestive ring and kind of out. That's actually leaky gut.
Wow.
As well as the bottom part, those lighter kind of fingers, is lymphatics. But lymphatics, what do you get with lymphatics? The lymphatics are garbage. It's garbage, liquid, fluid. And because you have toxic digestion, there's no place for the crappy stuff to go out. So it's going to, and because the digestion is so toxic, it's leaking into the body, which is leaky gut. And then you just get all the garbage in the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system isn't working well enough to take the garbage out. So yeah, you can see a lot with eyes. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yep.
Another digestion one. Lovely.
Yeah, this one. Oh my goodness. So this one is, again, digestive ring is not only toxic, it's very light looking as well as, but it's kind of that dark and just wishy-washy. It is so acidic and so toxic. This horse has ulcers or a partial blockage. There's a big black mark at the bottom at 6 o'clock in the digestive ring that kind of goes down. That's definitely a blockage or ulcers. Definitely. This horse also shows either a sinus infection or teeth need checking, which is this is the right eye, right? Yes, right eye. So it'd be about 1 to 2 o'clock. There's a big dark wad there. That's the sinus, and there's actually a dark mark in the jaw, which is a tiny part. So, but even if they have a mark in the sinus, I always have them check teeth, because it could mean that they need their teeth checked anyway. But mark in the sinus, it could mean that they maybe have a sinus infection, or they were just hit in the face at the nose. Who knows? I mean, this is again where we have to investigate if they know of any head traumas or injuries, etc.
Right.
Sinus infection, teeth, liver malfunction. So liver is at 7 o'clock ish. There's a big dark mark in the liver. Holy crap. So this one, you know what? I wanted to go back to lymphatics.
Sure.
Just one thing before I forgot to look at my notes. So another sign of weak lymphatics is horses stocking up, which we will cover that as well when it comes to the inherited kidney weakness, because I don't know if a lot of you know, but the kidneys are the last organ that the lymphatic garbage goes out of this body into the urinary system. So if the kidneys aren't functioning properly, then the lymphatics aren't getting out of the system. So you're going to get stocking up, because that stocking up is lymphatics. Scratches, mud fever, that's lymphatics. So that's a physical sign. I don't see it in the eye, but if I ask them, do you have a tendency to get scratches or mud fever? And yes is the answer, then we know that's a sign that they have weak lymphatics. Of course, lymphedema, which is a much more visual thing with the horse's legs swelling, that's a sign too. But in the eye, it's just those fingers. And if the kidneys are weak, then I know it's lymphatic. And toxic digestion, it's usually always lymphatics. So go back to your liver, because I have a really cool information about this. So liver, again, it means it's either a blockage of the liver, so the duct might be blocked, it might be just simply a malfunction. This has such a dark mark in it that I would say there's a major malfunction in it. So what the signs of a liver, which is really interesting. The horse, if the liver is in the body, it's more to the right-hand side of the body. So if the liver is not malfunctioning, it's going to be uncomfortable. I don't know if it's necessarily painful. I would assume it's a bit painful, but it probably hurts them, or it's just uncomfortable. So this horse will go well to the left when you're schooling, but not as well to the right. They also might stand at rest, so just in the cross ties, with the left foot more forward than the right. These are just little signs that just might be, little trigger points. If you're riding and your saddle consistently shifts to the left, that's usually a sign of liver. Quite often there will be a lameness in the off hind, which would be their right hind leg. I've had people who have spent $2,000 in x-rays, full panel x-rays of everything, sacrum right down to the bottom, and nothing wrong. Might be soft tissue, because obviously, there's more to just being lame than soft tissue, but most of them had liver issues, because there will be a lameness in that off hind because they can't bring that foot forward. So that's something to really be aware of, and that's why it's nice to have this done, so that you know that, oh my gosh, it's been liver all along. What the heck? And then of course body work and food. It's all about cleansing the liver. So that's a really cool and important organ, because that is also one of your lymphatic organs. They all work together. Lymphatics, they all work together. Your liver, your kidneys, your spleen, your heart, because that's where the heart takes a lot of the crap. And then your kidneys are what take out the crappy stuff. So liver is your filter. Yeah. So important to...
I always say when I'm doing my omega alpha routine, I always say like the liver is like a conductor of an orchestra. And it's the main one that has a lot of communication with other organs in the body.
Absolutely.
And if the conductor's not doing their job, there's no symphony, there's no harmony right within, let's say, the body. So you got to make sure that liver is really working optimally, and then even the kidneys at that component. So all those, again, like you said, all the waste metabolites have to be flushed out the body, and those two organs can get really taxed with all the debris and garbage that they filter.
And it's important too for people to use combination herbs, because I love milk thistle. It's fantastic, but it only repairs the liver. If you need to clean the junk out, you need the dandelion root. You have to have the 2 or the 3 or whatever together to not just fix it, but to cleanse it and then fix it. And so it's really important to get a group, get a mixture together, which you've got an amazing flush as well. And, we're coming up to summertime. Everybody dig up your dandelions and feed them the root. The dandelion leaf is for kidney, which is fine. They know what they need. They're going to self-serve with whatever they need to milk thistle. They'll eat milk thistle too if they need it. Then you know their livers. If they eat milk thistle, you know their liver needs some help. But of course, dandelion is great for the kidney, but it's the dandelion root that you need to have for the liver. So
Yep.
dig twice or three times a week, dig up a whole dandelion, see what they eat. It's amazing.
Yeah,
They're intelligent.
never thought about actually like going into the backyard or to the park or something and finding those dandelions and using the root. Yeah.
Yeah, just throw them a whole plant and just see what they eat. So withers also show on this horse. This is the right eye as well. So wither and shoulder. So it actually goes, liver is at 7 and withers are at 8 o'clock. There's a lot of stuff going on. So withers can be an indication of either saddle fit or they've had a fall, like they've fallen over backwards or had a fall. But quite often saddle fit will come up and with the withers. And lungs have mucus. The lung is the left side, the whole 9 o'clock. There's like major mucus in this horse's lungs. Like it needs to have a vet check it. And I'll tell them, if you need to have a vet, you need to have a vet. Yeah. I can tell. So it's important that and we work together with the vets. I know in the Netherlands, they work very closely with vets, the iridologists. So I hope that I get to that stage here because it needs to be a welcomed way for them to help them too.
Yeah.
They can't see the way I can. They can do blood work, but this will really mirror any blood work in some cases. I had a client who I did an iridology on, and there was a big wad of mucus in the one lung. Just the one eye, the right eye. I think it was right or left eye, whatever. So there was only mucus in the one lung. But she was riding it and she said, yeah, he's breathing heavy. And I said, well, he's got mucus in that one lung. So she had the vet out and the vet said there's nothing wrong with his lung. So of course the vet leaves and she's like, okay, well, you should know. And she riding and now he's coughing. And so she had him back and he had a major lung infection. So this does not lie.
Yeah.
It doesn't lie. And I just, wow. People.
That just goes to prove the validity of the whole concept, right? The whole science behind it.
Yeah, it really does. So another digestion. Surprise, surprise. Like, yeah, this is everybody. Toxicity, acidity. Now this one, you can see the parasites quite well. Those dots that are along the bottom in that dark digestive ring at the bottom, that's parasite load. Usually it's parasite load. I think this one has ulcers too. Now it's got some funky central nervous system balls. It only has 2 of them and one is bigger than the other. So it's had either from falling or it's had a head injury, whatever. Also, I want to mention this mark at the very top at 12 o'clock in the head area is a dark, big black mark. So that can be either from a head trauma. And then, of course, I would look at the picture of the face that people send me, or if I'm there, I take the picture of the face to see if one of the eyes is abnormal as far as symmetry of the face, because that'll tell you right away if they've had a head injury or a pullback. But the other thing that I want to mention is this dark mark in the brain can also be pituitary dysfunction, because the pituitary gland is in the brain and this is the head. So a mark will show up in the head area with Cushing's, but also I look at not just that, but liver, kidney, spleen, pancreas will show up. I mean, there's toxic digestion. I mean, there's a list of things that you kind of put the puzzle together and say, yep. And then of course there's the physical things, their coat. Are they losing weight? Are they depressed? Like there's all kinds of things that you have to investigate. But that's one thing we look at with the mark in the head like that. Inherited kidney weakness. This is pretty cool. So these are just kind of the major things that I run across. And this is one thing that we look for in every single horse. So this is inherited from the dam or the sire, and it's indicating weak kidney. And it may not mean that the kidney is actually malfunctioning like this, because we have the inherited kidney weakness as an inherited part, but there's also the actual marks in the eye for the kidney area, which in the right eye, this is the right eye, it would be at between 6 and 5 o'clock. So there's some lines in there. So I would say yes, kidney for sure. But as far as inherited kidney weakness, this is, like I said, inherited from one or the other. If it's in the more, if it's, and both eyes, I look in both eyes. Both eyes may have an inherited kidney weakness. It's that bubbling. See the bubbles on the bottom of the black part of the eye?
Mhm.
That's your inherited kidney weakness. Some horses have very little. Some have, this is quite extreme. So, and then the other eye may not have much at all. So that means that this is the right eye. This is actually inherited from the sire. This is from the father. So if they have an inherited kidney weakness, which this horse does, it will tend to be a wimpier horse. They tend to be sensitive to higher proteins and sugars and processed foods, which I don't think I've met a horse who isn't. It's all about clean diet, right, folks? These horses, interesting. So this is in the racetrack world that they've realized that this Sid Mercer, who started this, was into racing. And he looked and said, oh, gee, has the inherited kidney weakness. So these horses will tend to get what they call in the racetrack world seconditis. So these horses would win one race, but they always come in second, or win another one and then come in third, but then always just come in second. It was like, what the heck? And they'd be all up ahead, and about the last eighth, they just lose their steam. They call it seconditis in the racing world. So they found that these horses all had inherited kidney weaknesses. So all they did was support their kidneys with herbs, and these horses were winning races. So if you have an endurance horse or a horse that you need stamina for, and you're wondering, gee, why is he running out of steam halfway through or 3/4 of the way through endurance and eventing, whatever, they probably have an inherited kidney weakness. So these horses will just lack the stamina. But honestly, I mean, all it takes is just herbs to support that. And I would say that this weakness is inherited. It's always going to be there. So I always say, if it's always going to be there, support them 3 or maybe 3 times a year with a kidney cleanse, because they need it. A lot of these horses with an inherited kidney weakness will also be cold-backed. They will also have a tendency to stock up, because remember, we talked about the kidneys being the last organ that the lymphatic system the junk goes out through the urinary system. So if it's not working properly or it's weaker, you're going to have stocking up, which is lymphatics. These horses will also have a tendency to tie up if they have the weaker kidneys inherited wise. So on to the next slide, and I think there's some more. This is a very pronounced kidney weakness. That you can see the dark, and some of those bubbles, those kind of balls, will be over certain organs. And this is the right eye, so that one's actually over the liver. That means that even though there's no mark in the liver, that means that is going to become a problem. So look after it now before it becomes a problem. So you see how it can be a bit overwhelming, because people will go, oh my gosh, my horse is going to die. But it's just a matter of let's see it's not a problem now, but it's going to become one, because the eye is telling you that it's going to become an issue. This one, even though it has a lot going on as far as degeneration of organs, it has literally no inherited kidney weakness. There's no bubbles in that bottom part. But if I look in the actual kidney section of the eye, it's huge. It's got it's between 6 and 5 o'clock. It's really dark like that. That is definitely either a malfunction or just a kidney weakness. Maybe one of them's blocked, whatever. So I would still support it with kidney, but at least you don't have the inherited stuff to go with to back it up. If you have both, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. So with iridology assessments, they're available for 130 Canadian. So I'll drive within an hour and a half-ish of Stratford area, because that's just my regular territory. Unless I have a lot of horses that I can do, I'll come up to 2 hours if there's a whole bunch I can do. So I do these assessments. I'll take the pictures if I come out, and I bring them back to my home, sit with my glass of wine and log on the computer and sit with my map and just go through them. And I give you a full written assessment. This assessment will include your inherited strengths and weaknesses, temperament information, toxic load, assessment of the digestive tract, mineral balance, pHs, any injuries that I'm seeing, organ evaluation or malfunctions, and feed and herbal medicine nutrition, because that's what I've been doing. Or which you have permission, because Lauren and I spoke earlier, you have permission to send this iridology assessment to your herbal practitioner for their recommendations and guidance, because they know their products way better than I do, even though I research a lot. But you're still a specialist. So I do some of it, but I really like to have people sent on, especially if it's a more chronic case and there's a lot going on. It's like, what is going to be what's our main thing?
Yeah.
Always it's like digestion. I mean, that's a given right away. And when you fix digestion, a lot of the other stuff usually figures itself out.
Yeah, 100%.
So get a clean diet and then support, I would say mainly liver is most important, and kidney.
Yep.
And spleen. Now, I didn't talk about spleen, but let me tell you about spleen. In a horse, the spleen is a very different organ, unlike humans. They have a muscle, or it's a muscle organ. Ours is just an organ. It just sits there, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, in a horse, it's a muscle organ. It contains the red blood cells. And because horses are a fight or flight animal, it's the adrenaline that gets them to run, and that's what gets the spleen to pump, because it is a muscle. So if the spleen doesn't pump, so if they're standing in a stall all the time, and this is the same with lymphatics, but spleen itself can actually get a blockage and become very stagnant if they're not able to run and get the adrenaline to actually pump the red blood cells out. In the racetrack world, they call it dumping the spleen. And that's the only industry the only industry within our horse industry that knows about the spleen. They actually know horses quite well. Not all, but a lot of the racetrack guys. They understand how the body works. So yeah, they said, we need to dump the spleen. So they know about dumping spleen, but there's certain herbs that are really good just to take out the blockages from spleens alone. Because the spleen that's malfunctioning can cause them to step short in the near hind. So the left hind leg, if it's stepping short, that could very well be spleen. So, it's fascinating how it can be organ related, all of these issues.
Yep.
Not all of them. There's always other ideas. And if I see compensations in the pelvis, there will be some lines that we call them stress lines in the bottom of the eye, that will maybe end at the spleen or end at the withers. Then that just shows me that there's some muscle spasms through the back, which is through the bottom of the eye as well. And maybe it's ending at the pelvis, showing that the pelvis is starting to really come under pressure.
Right.
So the pelvis is probably coming under pressure because your liver's not functioning, so they're compensating. So that could be one. Wither issues can really make the pelvis. I can see lines that start from the wither and finish at the pelvis, so I know exactly that pelvis issue is from the withers. You can see that in the eye. You can see compensation patterns. It's amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, it's just a science all on its own, right? There's so much coming down the pipeline and so much to learn and look at, and
there's so much. Is fascinating, and I'm never stopping learning. It's just we just don't. We're invested in this industry, and horses are making us evolve, and thankfully the industry is evolving into a more natural minded. We have a shortage of vets in some areas, so we need to be proactive and be educated somewhat. And there's a time and a place absolutely for conventional medicine, and I'm looking forward to working with vets, especially when I get into more manual lymph drainage, because that's a very misunderstood system in the body, is the lymphatic system.
Yeah, and not a lot of people know about the lymphatic system.
No.
It's one that's not well recognized or acknowledged. Talking to people, like, they don't really understand the whole concept of why the kidneys, hold water, or water retention for stocking up, or it's just a whole different system that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So
it really is. Yes. So it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, we need to get that information out there. So yeah, we expand our knowledge when we can, just to share it with the rest of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So for anybody who's interested in a distance, or like I'll do pictures, pardon me, because I can't come to every barn, obviously, or stable. I have people from the States and from out west that send their pictures to me. So if you're interested, just email on that one of those sheets, or I guess at the end is the email address. Email me if you're interested, and I send you a waiver, and I send you another form to fill out with the history of your horse, all the information, what you're feeding them, all that stuff. So I have everything. And then I send information on how to take a picture properly, because it has to be clear.
Yeah.
And there's
here.
Yeah, you can either
printed mine off, ready to go.
Well, I hope to come to your area maybe in May, June. So
okay.
Yeah, in the meantime.
Well, I know there's probably quite a few people in my area that are on here tonight, so I can always arrange to get them together and see if one evening works or one daytime works for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will do that.
All right,
I got a girlfriend I need to see down in St. Catharines.
We'll get you down here.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to open up the floor now. I haven't received any questions as of yet, but if anyone has any questions for Lisa about this fascinating science, then please put your questions in the comment section down there, and I can read them out to her, and I'm sure she's more than happy to answer them for you.
I will try.
Have you ever had any, I don't want to say case studies, but clients that you've gone to see and they've taken every aspect of your knowledge and your feedback, and then you've gone back a second time to see them and the eye has changed?
Yes, I have. I haven't done too many, and I really should get my button gear and do more. But yes, I have seen changes, and they say to do this really annually is a more ideal kind of a thing. But if you've got a chronic issue and you want to see changes, I say every 6 months that you retake some pictures and compare before and after. Some things are going to change. Obviously, some things won't. But some of the dark marks might get less dark. The digestion should always change. I mean, that will change, because if you're feeding a clean diet and with herbal support, that is going to change, definitely. Arthritis can show up in the legs. I mean, that still might show up a bit, but you still need to support that. The organs should deplete their dark marks as well. So yeah, there's definitely some changes that happen, but it's good to do this every year. And even as a baseline for a start for your horse, then you can grow from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
See it every year, see what happens every year.
Perfect. Yeah, I know you talked about how you use craniosacral with the iridology, because if there's like a head injury or something, you can look at the level of the eyes. But is there other modalities that would really work well with iridology?
Yes, well, actually, so how I got to tell you how I got into the MLD, the manual lymph drainage, was, of course, having this course from the Netherlands, the instructor. And with a lot of acidity, I'm seeing a lot of not just the digestion that's toxic, but acidic digestion and acidic bodies, which, acidity is inflammation. So their whole body's inflamed. Yeah. Same with us, same thing. So, of course, now that you know about this, you all need to go out and get your iridology test done on yourself. Oh my gosh, it's scary. So anyway, so then what when my exam, she came back and said, for the acidity, make sure you have somebody do MLD on them. And I'm like, MLD, what's that? This is literally 8 months ago. I said, what's that? Manual lymph drainage. I said, we don't have anybody that I know of in Ontario that does that. Yeah. So then, of course, Lisa decides, I guess I need to look into something else now, thinking I had it all down. And I found the HealthEquine in the States is the only place that does certification for horses, at least in the terms that I needed. So I'm taking her course right now, because it helps with the acidity. It helps with so much now that I'm finding it out. It's amazing. So MLD really is a great match for anything to do with iridology, any organs. I mean, you've got your lymphatic organs, your livers, your kidneys, your spleens, the digestion. It's all related. So it's a great mix or meld for iridology. And I mean, if you've got restrictions in the body, craniosacral can really help to release, and osteopathy, of course, that's where cranial came from, releases organs. I can release organs. And acupressure. I mean, acupressure is brilliant at releasing organs. Yeah. So if you know the liver is compensating or the liver or kidneys are out of whack, use your moxie sticks or do some acupuncture or acupressure on the acupoints. Yeah. So there's lots of different modalities, even taping. I mean, taping can hit the organs too.
Yeah, like you said, lymphatic tapings or like, the decompression components over the organs, they seem to work really well.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. So really anything that you do is going to help hit something that's going to help. But it's nice to know specific for the iridology. You know exactly what you need to hit on.
Yeah. Well, we do have one question for you. Brittany asked, can you tell if there are any nerve impingements? Not really. You can't see that. You can see the compensation from that nerve impingement, but you don't really see a nerve impingement. No, it would be more the compensation from that. Okay. So it wouldn't necessarily target where that nerve impingement is allocated. You're just kind of seeing the compensation region of that impingement.
Yeah, the compensation region. But also in saying that, some of the nerve rings or the stress lines, we call them stress lines, they can go to the pelvis, but they can also go from the shoulder up to the neck and up to the pole. So we can tell if the pole is currently in spasm, and we can see that it might be coming from the shoulder.
Okay.
So we can see that, but we just don't know if it's an actual nerve impingement or if it's just that their neck is out, or we don't know that, but we can see if it's affecting that part of the body for sure with the nerve rings.
Yeah, at least that gives the owner the information that they can further investigate the situation, right? Like consult their massage therapist, their chiropractor, their veterinarian to try and isolate the issue and see what's really going on.
Yep.
Yeah. Great question, Brittany. Hopefully that answers it.
Really good question.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? This is your perfect opportunity just to write a little comment, and we'll get Lisa to answer them for you.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. I know it's like
I'm sure there's a lot of people that are taking it all in and thinking about their horse's eyes right now.
It's a head shaker, that's for sure.
I know there's going to be quite a few people at the barn tomorrow, probably just going to have a good look at their horse's eye.
They're going to look in the eye and they're going to go, how the heck does she see that?
Right. And the horse is going to be like, why are you
There's
staring at me so intently?
It's just, wow. Yeah, because when I take the pictures, it has to be very specific because of course I want the perfect lighting, and their eyes are so big that it has to be in the dark or in a darker area of the stable.
Yeah.
I usually take and I have this written on a form for people to give them ideas, and I have my back against a stable wall with no windows, but I use a camera and I have my certain settings and a flash. But if you use your cell phone, because most people, that's what they have, then there's certain ways to do your proper picture that I've written in this sheet anyway, that I would send out your instructions for that. But yeah, you put it on macro mode and no flash. So with the cell phone, you don't use a flash, but you need somebody holding a pen light, like a flashlight or a pen light. So yeah, there's different ways. But yes, it has to be clear, and then I enlarge it, so it has to be quite clear.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you'd have to have it pretty much screen fit so that you can identify all the, anomalies and abnormalities in the eye.
It is, because even with the digestive ring, there's little points that if the digestive ring has a space over a certain organ, that means also that organ can be coming under stress or malfunctioning, or could be a potential problem. So yeah, there's a lot of little things, and like the ovaries and bladder and prostate and spleen are all really close. So you have to have that larger so that you can kind of go, okay, this is 6 o'clock, this is 9 o'clock, and then I figure out where it is and go with their history too to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a real learning. I would never have dreamt.
Yeah, I mean, tonight alone was a learning curve for us, so I can only imagine how overloaded and overwhelming it can be for you to take it all in and become like a practitioner in this modality.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. This is awesome.
No worries. I'm glad I can get you to introduce it to everybody, because again, it's so new, and you're the only one in Canada right now that's really doing it, right?
Under Ellen Collinson's, yeah. There's no other academy from her academy here. There's a couple there's a girl in the States who does teach it, but she teaches it for all animals, and it's based on I think human iridology, which is close to this. I mean, the head's still in the same area, the lungs, the thyroid, the heart, etc. But I've actually had some of our course people have taken this course, the Ellen's course, and they said Ellen's is just like, this is the course to take.
Yeah,
for sure.
Good to know. Yeah. Again, I'll put those websites on the event page after, and then when I post this video again tomorrow on Healthy Equine Therapies Facebook page, I'll include those in the comment section as well, so people can check those out.
Great.
No more questions. Then I just wanted to kind of take this time to thank Lisa for all of her information and for coming online and sharing it with everybody today. I'm sure you're going to get quite a few emails or phone calls or messages through social media. I know there's going to be quite a few from the Niagara region, so we'll get set up there and have you come down and do a little bit of a
yes.
Wine country, so you can come down. But there's our contact information there on the screen. You got Lisa's contact information and social media handles on there, and then mine as well. If you need some assistance in contacting Lisa or want any information about this component, I can definitely send you some information and then get you in contact with Lisa. That's no issue there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lauren. It's been an absolute honor.
This is fantastic. You'll definitely have to get you on here again, maybe talking about the little craniosacral.
Yes, and the manual lymph drainage. Boy, that's going to be a big one.
Yes, I'm going to definitely look that up after and learn a little bit about that.
Yes.
There's someone on here that says, Lisa, just for your information, Wizard is living his spirulina and ocean equine seaweed.
Oh, that's awesome. Yay, Wizard. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you.
No problem. And there's a lot of people thanking you for your time. This is so awesome. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I would love to have this done at my barn. I can't wait to learn more. Thank you so much. This was very informative, more so than I expected. Excellent information. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, just everyone, thank you. Very informative presentation. So everyone enjoyed themselves this evening.
Thank you so much. And thanks all for your time too, because I know everybody's been it's almost bedtime.
It is almost bedtime. Yep. And if you've missed portions of this webinar, again, I'm going to be posting it on Healthy Equine Therapies Facebook page, and eventually it'll go on to my YouTube channel. So there's two different avenues you can go and check this out. So I think it's going to be actually a big one on YouTube because again, it's so unique, a new science out there for the equine industry. So yeah, it'll be readily available. But again, thank you so much, Lisa. This has been absolutely fantastic.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm definitely going to get my horse done.
Okay. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too.
Take care.
Bye. Ciao.